Thank you. My
You're
name is
on.
Erin Kreutz. I am the State Forester with NRCS, and I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of what we do as an agency and what is available to you as forest landowners. So I'll go over who we are at NRCS, our traditional programs, and a real quick overview on easements. So NRCS, like Nolan mentioned, we are a non-regulatory agency. The conservation districts are essentially kind of our sister agencies, and we're a federal service, which we were also created at the same time. Coming out of the Dust Bowl, our agency started as the Soil Conservation Service. And then in the 80s, we branched out to include more natural resources and became the Natural Resource Conservation Service. And we are an agency essentially created to help people help the land. That is our motto, and it's the root of what we do. We support local-led conservation. We always provide technical assistance, which is free. And we also have voluntary conservation programs, which help with cost share rates and assistance for our landowners. We have service centers located statewide. We almost have a service center in every county of the state and every county of the United States. So one of the basic, services that we can provide are forest management plans. This is also something that's going to be critical to have as you move forward with any of our cost share programs. We can provide contracts to be able to get that forest management plan written for you. We do require that you must work with a technical service provider who has shown eligibility and has gone through training with our agency. So at any point, we can share a list of names and service providers that are available in the state or in your area, so you can kind of start seeking some assistance there. And we provide cost share, and we try to aim our cost share rates at 70 and also potentially up to 90% of the total cost. But that's going to depend based on the TSP and their rates and services. Ours are locked in, and they are based depending on the size of the property. We also now provide additional options if you know you're going to move forward with an application for an activity practice that will do the actual work on the ground. We can use those TSPs now to write the plans for you, and we also pay for that service as well. So our most common program is our Environmental Quality Incentives Program, which we call EQIP for short. This provides free technical assistance while also signing a contract which provides that financial services. And again, most folks are eligible for what we estimate to be about 70% of the actual cost. One thing that's really great for Washington landowners is that our costs are included with the Pacific states. So that includes California. So our rates are pretty competitive because we have expensive states within our region. And we then provide generally on a per acre basis for the practice that's handled. And I will mention, because this question came up, NRCS does have a 1 acre eligibility enrollment. So we can go down to pretty low sizes. So again, the EQIP program does require the forest management plan to be eligible for the cost share practices, but this would also be the program that you would ask for to enroll for a forest management plan if you don't already have that in. And some of the things that we can do are forest management or forest stand improvement, woody residue treatment, pruning, tree shrub establishment, fire and fuel breaks. We offer agroforestry services, riparian forest buffers, and many more. So looking at our most common practices that we work with people, our forest stand improvement is definitely probably the most used practice. It's one of the most used practices in Washington state, but this is where we can provide anything that involves cutting of woody debris or woody material. So this will include our thinning, any stocking changes, species selection or species changes. We can address insect and disease management issues generally through this forest stand improvement practice. We also offer woody residue treatment. So any slash or debris management that's involved. And one thing I will mention, and this is true for forest stand improvement as well, we have different payment rates depending on the type of materials that might be used. So if you were to just be working with hand tools, chainsaws, we have a specific payment rate for that. But if you had the means and resources to get a masticator, our payment rates are going to be a lot higher to be able to provide some cost share benefits for dealing with heavier equipment. So there's a lot of flexibility that we provide. For pruning, we can put in pruning for wildfire prevention, also tree quality reasons. Tree shrub planting can be for reforestation, for wildlife benefits. We also, depending on your browse pressure, we can add extra payments to help cover for browse protection around those seedlings as they get established. So some of our less common, but management practices that we have out there are fuel and fire breaks. So we can look at if this is more popular east of the Cascades, but more folks on the west side are feeling more interested in doing more wildfire preparation. And this is a great resource to be able to work with that. We have riparian forest buffer, structures for wildlife. This can be putting together constructed piles on the ground for foraging and hiding cover for species. It can also include like raptor poles and bird boxes. We offer brush management to help with pervasive and invasive species, especially when we're working and contracting tree and shrubs. We want to make sure that we can compete with the weeds that are out there. This is something that we can also help with herbicide treatments to go along with those types of activities, depending on the resources on the ground. And we also provide agroforestry services with silvopasture, forest farming, windbreaks, and alley cropping. Our other popular program is our Conservation Stewardship Program, or CSP. And this is really established for landowners who have established conservation history. They've done some work with us, but it's not required. But you've got kind of a legacy that you've been building out there. You've done a lot of your immediate projects, and CSP is for taking it to that next level and a higher conservation effort out there. It really helps to ensure sustainability of your operations, and there's a ton of flexibility with CSP. You can be managing and harvesting timber while being enrolled in CSP. CSP is a 5-year contract, and it has an annual payment. It can be up to $40,000 annually and $200,000 for that full contract value. However, it's paid by an per acre basis. So for our forest landowners, Holly showed that slide early in her presentation that kind of showed the acreage breakup for most small private landowners in Washington state. Most of us are under 20 acres. So it's a little bit harder to compete for the funds with CSP based on that. However, they wanted to kind of even the playing field for our forest landowners in CSP. So there's now a minimum payment of $4,000 per year that will be paid for forest landowners, and then a $20,000 contract. Within CSP, we then provide enhancements. So it's a little bit different than EQIP, where we're working kind of on a per acre basis with identifiable practices. Enhancements are a little bit more broader, and they provide a lot of flexibility. This can just basically take your land to that next level by creating more wildlife structures, creating gaps for wildlife and breaks to create a kind of more of a mosaic on your landscape. This is also where we provide assistance with biochar. We do have a pretty high minimum / requirement to remain on the ground, because we want to make sure that we're keeping material for wildlife and for soil carbon long-term. But for folks that have the means, the interest, and the resources to go and look into biochar, this is a great avenue. It also provides a lot of flexibility for tree shrub planting. So if you already have a really nice established overstory, but you want to add more shrubs for wildlife, CSP is a great option. Lastly, I'll just mention there's an category and an enhancement for big leaf maple sugar production with CSP. So if that's an interest to you, this is also a really good avenue to look into and see what resources are available. Lastly, we have easements, and I will just state that I am not an easement specialist, but we have easement specialists in our state. We have a wetland reserve program, which provides 30-year to permanent easement options. If that's ever interest to you, or you want to look further into it, we will set you up with these specialists and they can kind of run you through the process and what that entails. So how to get started. So I've got the phone numbers for our main service centers for the folks in this call. If you are calling or coming in from Island County, you're most likely to be served out of the Skagit County Mount Vernon Service Center. So please go ahead, jot these telephone numbers down, give us a call. As Dan had mentioned, we do need those FSA records to start. Luckily, we are co-located with FSA. So to be kind of in the door with us, maybe it's just a 15-minute commitment to get started. So give our offices a call, set up an appointment to just do those forms really quickly. FSA will walk you through the process, and then you can come right next door to NRCS. And our initial application to just get enrolled and considered is very simple. After that, we'll set you up with a NRCS planner who's going to help you kind of navigate the next processes, go to your field, and start creating a plan for you. So